Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Kua Wongboonsin. My bachelor degree is physics and is changed to demography. I study master and PhD at University of Pennsylvania in demography. Major in demography and minor in economics. The reason why I changed from physics to demography because when I was studying, I'm the president of the student union in Chulalongkorn University, and the vice president for student affairs. They would like to have some demographer who have background in mathematics, because most of the demographers are major in sociology. So they convinced me to study demography. The reason I explain because if not, you have some question why I changed from physics to demography. My major field is population and development related to the mathematical statistical projection, the so-called statistical demography. I project population and study the life course of the human being to see the changing of the human capital over time, and also look at the difference between each group of people. Like Chulalongkorn University, we use a demographer to forecast professor in Chulalongkorn, because this year is 92nd years Chulalongkorn. In the past 20 years, we study some faculty, the very old faculty, like a faculty of medicine, faculty of engineering, and we call around to the administrator that the faculty of medicine and faculty of political and faculty of science is very old. It's an aging population. So Chulalongkorn have to prepare young professor in order to substitute the retired professor. Okay. This is what I do for my work. I'm teaching population development and also projection, population into the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Could you say? Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and we are very honored to join this COE program. I myself, when I went to undergraduate school at Chulalongkorn University. We call it Faculty of Arts, which is exactly like the Faculty of Letters here. We had like majors in history, but we don't have sociology, because sociology at Chulalongkorn University is under the Faculty of Political Science. Okay, so it's a bit different, but history is there, geography is there at the Faculty of Arts or the Faculty of Letters. I got my master's degree in international relations at the University of Pennsylvania, and then go to the graduate schools of law at Fukuoka, Kyushu University. But it is political science. I did the comparative regimes in terms of people on the move, migration. But lately I've been involved in research in terms of human development, because I am the Asian coordinator for ASEM Lifelong Learning Research Hub. This is something that combines the much more involved in terms of global integration to have a sustained human capital based on lifelong learning. And this would be part of my lecture after this lecture, because Kua Sensei is going to focus on more theoretical, the conceptual framework, and I'm going to take you to more in terms of the case study, with more focus on the public sphere and the intimate sphere from different perspectives, from the perspective of different issues and different geographical perspective. So that I hope that you will enjoy, and I'm glad that we have lots of students here, because now in the world arena that has prepared for global development, you have heard about Millennium Development Goals. If you take a look at the profiles of the people there, demographers, sociologists are there, lots of them, so you may be part of them in the future, because we are going to bring in more and more new human capital in this arena. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So could you please start your lecture? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon again. So my topic today will be first and second demographic dividend. You can interrupt me anytime if you want to ask questions. Yeah? This is what I teach in Thailand, master and PhD. You can interrupt and we can dive in. Because they said if we synergy 1 + 1 can equal more than 2. Okay? But if you hospitality 1 + 1 will be 1.5. But if it's defensive 1 + 1 can be less than 1. And so we will down. Okay? Demographic dividend. This one by Professor David Wu. It's a discussion by a demographer that population is changing and we will have more dependency or aging, and the population in the labor force will decline after a while when fertility decline. So demography economics makes us. This lecture will highlight the importance of the nexus between demographic change and economic growth. The central message is that demography matters a great deal of economic growth. This is particular in terms of the effect of the structure on the economic sphere, labor supply, number and composition of the workforce, saving, human capital, productivity of the workforce, behavior of workforce on saving, the accumulation of human capital, and therefore on the productivity of the workforce. Labor supply is also a very huge topic. Saving also another important subject. And human capital. Human capital is a function of education, health, and training. Why I say human capital is a function of education, health, and training? Because education is the flow of labor. The student is the flow of labor. And training is the stock of labor. Training is the people who already graduated in the labor market. Okay? And health is part of the human capital, because if the labor force is healthy, it will create more productivity. That's why human capital is a function of education, health, and training. Okay? And productivity workforce, we need more productive workforce, and in order to be a better workforce, the student, when we teach, we have to create human capital in the future. students should have skill and competency. Okay. Basic skill is reading, writing, mathematics. And competency is social and culture, ICT, entrepreneur. This kind of thing is a competency. And behavior of a workforce on saving the accumulation of human capital and therefore on the productivity of workforce. Saving is important because now in European country or even in East Asia, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, now the proportion of aging is becoming bigger and bigger. So the labor force, when they are still young, they should have more saving to be used in the future. Okay, because the dependency, the support ratio is declining. In Thailand, now 6 workers take care of 1 elderly. In another 20 years, it will be only 4 labor take care of 1. And in another maybe 40 years, only 2 labor take care of 1 elderly. Okay. So saving is also very important. I said demography economic nexus is related. You can see from this figure that there are demographic process. This is not in the handout. I just do it this morning because when I look at this demography and economic nexus, it's better have a figure so that you can have more imagination than, because this one I says there are relation between demography and economics. It's very difficult to understand. But this one you can understand that demographic process, fertility, mortality, and migration. If the country have very high fertility, the demographic process will affect the demographic outcome. The age structure will be a very huge pyramid. Okay, but if low fertility, like in Japan now, or in urban area in Bangkok. Now in Bangkok, the fertility is only 1. In Japan is around 1.27 or something. Okay. I can show you the different the process of low fertility and high fertility. What will happen? This is the picture. I compare Thailand, Italy, and Japan. This is 1950. Okay, when we forecast in the future, you can see Thailand in 1970, total fertility is 6.3. Now only 1.6. Okay, and Italy and Japan is you can see that. Fertility is decline very fast, and the structure will change very fast also. You see the change. Okay, so demographic process will affect the demographic outcome. Okay, this one. Demographic process. This is demographic process. Affect demographic outcome. If high fertility, the pyramid will be very huge younger people. Okay, so demographic process will affect demographic outcome by this picture. Okay, and later on, the pyramid for Italy will turn upside down. Okay. Okay. So it's upside down. So this one is the explanation that demographic process will affect the demographic outcome. And demographic outcome will affect the socio-economic process. In other words, if the country have a very high proportion of people under age 15, so that country will have less saving and more investment, because you have to invest in school, you have to invest in education. Okay? So the demographic outcome will affect the socio-economic process. Saving, investment, land, labor utility, consumption of goods, service. If it's aging population, also you will have less investment. Okay, because low labor force. And the consumption for the younger population and aging population, the consumption is different. Because if it's younger population, the consumption will be on food, on education. But if it's aging, the consumption will be on housing, on healthcare. Okay? And socioeconomic process will affect the socioeconomic outcome. If you have less investment, so the unemployment, you have a lot of unemployment. Okay? You will have less health investment. Okay? So if socioeconomic process is not in a good policy, the socioeconomic outcome also, you will have a lot of unemployment or underemployment. Okay? And if you spend less money on health, if some country now in African country really less investment in health, so the health status also will affect. And when health status affect, a lot of household they will have more fertility. In the past, we call it insurance and insurance effect. When their children die, so they have more children. We call it insurance or replacement effect. Have you ever heard that? In poor household, when they have a lot of kids die, so they have more kids. We call that insurance or replacement effect. Okay. So the socioeconomic outcome will affect the demographic process and demographic outcome. So this is demographic and economic cycle. Okay, you follow that? Any question? You can ask any time because Professor Imiko told me to speak very slowly, and I would like to have a dialogue. If you want to, you can ask any time. Okay?
You can ask in Japanese.
You can ask in Japanese, but somebody will translate to me. I know only two words, domo and doso. Okay. Okay. So demography economy nexus now is your handout. Labor force participation tend to be higher among age 15 to 64 years old than in other age groups. In other words, when a low fertility, okay, the population in the labor force will increase. You can look at this picture. Thailand started to have a population policy in 1970. We have fertility 6.3, and in 1980 fertility declined to around 4. And in 1990, you can see that the people in the labor force, this group, start to increase, and the younger population start to decline. Okay. And you can look at Japan in 1990, a lot of proportion in the labor force increased. Also in Italy. But later on, the proportion in the labor force will starting to decline. When you have a high proportion in the labor force, we call it demographic dividend. You start to have demographic dividend. Okay? You see, Thailand starts to have very high proportion in the labor force. But later on, it will start to decline, and the aging people, you see, the aging people start to increase. So demographic dividend is gone after proportion of the labor force is declining. Okay? Okay. So the labor force participation tends to be higher among 15 to 64 years old than in other groups. The younger are either at home or in school while consuming resources they do not produce. The older are retired from workforce, either reduce or switch their production by using their accumulated wealth for retirement consumption. Labor force participation tends to be highest among the age 35 to 49. They generate income while they partially spend on their needs. And working age adults on the whole produce more than they consume. The excess go to children consumption and wealth accumulation. You see, in the year 1970, children we call wealth flow. Professor Carvel, they said the egalitarian society, the wealth flow from children to the household because they use children to work in the field. Okay, so we call the wealth flow in the old time when the fertility is more than 5. It's the wealth flow from children to the household. But right now, less children. The wealth flow from father and mother to the children. You see. Now in Bangkok, one child. So we call it one child was spoiled by 10 people. Okay, father and mother, grandfather, grandmother, 4 grandfather, grandmother, and 4 great grandfather. So 10 people spoil one children. So the wealth flow is reversed. Instead of from children to the household, now the household to children. Okay, but in Thailand, I try to convince the policy planner that you are not. It's not a good policy to spoil the children. You have to make this one child to be a Superman or Supergirl. Because this one child, we have to take care of 10 people in the future. Okay? But the new generation, we call it the postmodern generation. The postmodern generation is they are symbolism. They are not, they are not objectivity. Everything they think is a symbolism. They are not objectivity. Okay. So the labor force participation tend to be highest among the age 35 to 49. They generate income. Education is part of human capital formation. Education contributes directly to the quality of life and indirectly to economic well-being by increasing productivity, which in turn promote their high wage and better standard of living. Like I mentioned, that human capital is education, health, and training. Okay? You are part of the education, but when you go out to the labor force, government have to build up a training program in order to improve the human capital. Okay? The peak saving years seem to be between age 45 to 65, after children have left the home and as people prepare for retirement. At the stage of the life cycle, when saving behavior is especially strong, national saving lies This lasts as long as it takes for the entire cohort to age beyond this age. Okay? Demographic dividend can have another word. This is not in the handout. I just add some more. You can call demographic dividend, or the UNFPA they call window of opportunity or demographic bonus. Williamson called it demographic gift. Frank called it this demographic opportunity. And Warren called it demographic golden age. And Engelio called demographic dividend. So you can, it's the same thing. Demographic dividend, demographic bonus, window of opportunity, demographic golden age. It's the same thing. Okay? Or demographic window. Okay? And you can read more in the UNFPA. I can give you this handout again. I add more this morning, so that more explanation. Okay. Demographic economic nexus again. To recapitulate, the demographic wealth create an especially large generation of individuals who, when they reach the working years, will supply greater amount of labor and saving, and be healthier and better educated. See, like I said, that now in Eastern Asia is one child, mostly 1.23 something, very low fertility. So this 1 or 1.5 or 1.2 children, they have to take care of 10 people in the future. And with the medical, the better of medical, it can be, in China they call it 1 per 2 per 4. 1 child per father and mother, and 4 great-grandfather, for grandmother and grandfather. But with the medical help, it can be 1 per 2 per 4 per 4. In other words, 1 child has to take care of father and mother, grandfather, grandmother, great-grandfather, great-grandmother. Okay? So we are sociologists. In the past 15 years in my college, we studied 3 generations. Now we have to study 4 generations. Another 20 years maybe we have to study 5 generations, because they live longer. Okay? So sociology have more work to do. The transfer to more human and physical capital, which push out the frontier of production, possibility of the economies in which they take place. Nations that learn to take advantage of this expand possibility can attain considerably more rapid improvement in the standard of living of their people. In other words, when you have very high proportion in the labor force, and this labor force very high labor income, they should have less, not that much, they should have moderate consumption in order to have more saving for the future. But if they use all the money that on of their stipend, there are no saving. So when they're getting old, the society has to take care of them. But the society in the future is only 1 child. So the society will be in trouble. Okay? Key aspect of demographic economy nexus, demographic dividend, the economic benefits that derive from demographic change in terms of a future of an age structure with the tendency of the working age population to grow more rapidly than the overall population once fertility has been declined. Okay. Demographic dividend may also call demographic bonus or window of opportunity or demographic golden age. Demographic dividend or window of opportunity Normally, a demographic dividend may occur only once during a demographic transition and last just a few decades. Only once demographic dividend, because proportion of the labor will increase, but later on when fertility decline, right, proportion will decline, while the proportion of the aging increase. Right? Okay. The rising of the proportion of the population in the working age relative to that at a dependent age is considered a window of opportunity to accrue economic benefit to both the society and each individual population. 4 conditions for attaining a demographic dividend. The first one is demographic condition, combination of a decline in mortality, fertility, and dependency ratio. You remember the 4 blocks that demographic process affect the demographic outcome, and demographic outcome affect the socioeconomic process, and socioeconomic process affect the socioeconomic outcome, and better socioeconomic outcome will affect demographic process. So it's the population and development, they go in a cycle. If you did not plan a very good policy in socioeconomy, it will affect this demographic outcome. Okay. The second one is timing of the demographic transition only occur in the middle phase of demographic transition. And existing human resource condition, quality of human resource is very important. In other words, the labor force, the human capital should have very high education, high skill, and high competency. And policy condition for a more productive workforce, economic policy, labor policy, human resource policy, and financial system. Now Thailand try to create more financial system. In other words, if you are working now and you saving for the future, it's a tax examination, things like this. This is the financial system. Okay. This one, this is the figure that here in the year 2000, proportion of the labor force is around 62%. It peaked, Thailand peaked at 67% in the year 2009. Next year, demographic dividend, it's starting to decline. We still have demographic dividend, but it's starting to decline. I alarmed this one to the policy panel 6 years ago. I said, only 6 more golden year for demographic dividend, but they do nothing. Because politicians, usually they think very short term, they don't think long term. Okay? Nobody politician now. So after 2009, the proportion, you see this pink color declining. Okay? This one is 0 to 14. I call this is like a tsunami. You see, before tsunami, the sea level is declining, right? After declining, now I call this tsunami aging people. You see, increasing after declining of the wave. Okay, you can see in the year 2000 it's only 10%, is 60 and above. In the year 2025 it will be 20%. And Thai people, only 22% of the Thai people have a provident fund. Only 22%. Only the people who work in the private sector or the government, we have a pension fund. But the farmer, they don't have provident fund. Okay, so now we try to create this kind of provident fund for the whole nation. Okay. So we said percentage of the elderly increased twice in 25 years, like a tsunami wave. You see, increased from 10 to 20%. This is because people are living longer and must accumulate more wealth in order to support post-retirement consumption. A larger share of the population is concentrated at older wealthy age. We have to extend the demographic dividend. Can we extend the demographic dividend? Can we? You can extend the demographic dividend if you have a policy, like in France. If you got the first child, the government will pay you something like 2,000 euro, second child 4,000 euro, third child 10,000 euro, and you can live for pregnancy for 1 year, and you have baby bonus. Okay. Singapore also have this kind of baby bonus. In Thailand, on leave for pregnancy is only 3 months. But in France, I think it's 1 year. And also, not only women, husband also can leave to take care of the children also. Extend demographic dividend. Now, in Thailand, fertility is only 1.6. Partly because, like the work of Professor Imigo, that women work and child rearing is a conflict. It's a conflict between women work and child rearing. So in Japan, you have an M curve. Right? You leave to take care of your children and you go back to work. For Thai, we have only 2 years for M curve, only in Bangkok. But later on, no M curve, because women in Thailand, they don't leave for their work, because if they leave, no pay, and if you leave, when you go back, maybe you cannot find work. Okay, and they said taking care of the children is not only their authority. The husband have to take care also, not only me. Okay, you can see later that the proportion of single in Thailand is increasing, and proportion of people and divorce rate also increased. We call it DING. I think you know, double income no kid increase, and now a lot of single income no kid. Okay. And increasing the dependency ratio, signaling the fading away of the opportunity to capitalize on the demographic condition for a demographic dividend. During that time, there is an increasing proportion of the population who are elderly due to low fertility and stable mortality. So in the past, we have more dependency in the age less than 50. In the future, dependency will be age 65 and above. If that group of people have less saving. Okay? And increasing in the proportion of the elderly population may lead to a situation which constitute burden to the society, the family and individual population. Okay. The demographic change which constitute burden to the society, family and individuals population may call a demographic illness. This is Professor Okawa at Nihon University. He also a demographer at Nihon University. So I think he is the first one who spelled out the demographic illness. Okay. In summary, the first dividend is like this: increase in population share in the highly productive age, lead to increase in the per capita income. And this increasing in the per capita income increase in per capita consumption and current living standard, and increase in per capita saving and future living standard. So the policy planner have to decide that the increasing in the per capita income by the very high proportion of the people in the labor force, if it leads to very high consumption, you will have less saving. Okay? But if you sustainable development, you consume not that much, and you save a lot for yourself. You save for yourself, not for anybody, because okay, people in this room, I always told my son, right now I am 55, another 5 years I will be retired. But 67% of the labor force will take care of me. My son is 26 years old, now he works in New York. I said, you have to save 40%. He said, why? Well, 40% for yourself, not for anybody. Because in another 35 years old, when you are aging, only 2 workers take care of you. And that 2 workers who take care of you, I don't know whether they can take care of themselves or not with their very high consumption. Okay? So in this room, you have to save 40%. But some economists said no. If you keep on saving, they will have less multiplier effect. So it depends on the economist. You know what I mean? Some economists said if you save more, there are less investment. So some economists will say, spend all of your saving, create more investment. So it depends. Okay? Any question? No. Okay, a second demographic dividend. Possible to explore. A second demographic dividend would be possible if change in the age structure influence the accumulation of wealth and capital. Should that be the case, aging can lead to a sustained increase in standard of living that persists after the demographic dividend has long disappeared. So you will have a second dividend or not, it depends on the accumulation of wealth and capital from the proportion of the labor force while they are still in the labor force. If they accumulate a lot of wealth, accumulate a lot of saving, you will have second dividend. So second dividend will occur or not, it depends on the proportion of the labor force on the decision on the policy. Okay? Okay, this is by Andrew Mason. Andrew Mason is a professor at the University of Hawaii. He worked with Lon Lee, University of Berkeley, and also Ogawa in the Nihon University. And this is the figure of an Asian economic life cycle. The blue color, I didn't use red and yellow color. In Thai now we have to use another color, no red and yellow color. No, it's just a joke. So the blue color is a consumption. You see, when you are young, you have less consumption, and this is the labor income. The pink one is labor income. You start to work and the labor income start to increase. If the labor income exceeds the consumption, you have more saving. Okay? But if you consume more than your income, you have deficit. Okay? Right now it's a postmodern, and they said story is more important than the goods. Have you noticed it? They said, okay, this is tea. Tea is not important, but the story of the tea is more important. You look in the television, they advertise every day that this tree is better than the water. So you change the behavior from need to want and to expectation based. Okay? So in sociology, we say that the advertiser, they look only at the value and belief, not go to the norm and the culture. Okay? They try to change the belief of the people that you need to drink this water rather than pure water. Okay? And pure water, the tap water, not good. You have to drink the water from the mineral water or something. So the story is more important than the goods. Okay? So if you have labor income in more than the consumption, you have more saving. And this picture is like this. When you are young, you have less saving. But when you are working age, right, you consume less than your income, so you have more saving. So the saving, when you save, this will transfer, and you will have a second dividend. So the second dividend depend on if the pink and the blue color is separate. High labor income, less consumption, more saving. And this saving can be used when you are getting old or when the society is getting old. You can use this money to invest again. Okay? Second dividend, increase in population share in the old, low productive age. Increase in demand for old age resources. And now, policy expand of old age transfer program and increase in capital economic growth to second dividend. In other words, you can use the saving to transfer program, like a public transfer, more health resource. But you can another policy is increase in capital growth second dividend. Like you use that money to invest more. Okay? Saving can be used for public transfer and also create another investment. Okay? The future of Asia. Maybe we stop, have a break for 5 minutes or 15 minutes.
Yeah, if you like.
Or we can, it depends.
Yeah, you can stop at any time. Formally, this lecture
1:15?
within 1:30, 2:30.
Okay.
2:30. However, you can stop.
Okay, we can go to 2:30.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it time to
Okay.
stop?
The future of Asia. For demographic transition in Thailand, the population is 34.4 million in 1970 and 62.24 million in 2000. Right now it's around 64. The TFI is 66.4, and in the year 2005 is 1.82. Now it's 1.6, very fast declining. When I do a projection for the National Economic and Social Development Board, I start using the census data. Census data is year 2000. Census data always 10 year different, every 10 years. 1990, 2000, 1980, 1970. In the year 2000, TFR from the census is 1.82. And I forecast that in the year 2025, TFR total fertility rate for Thailand will be 1.68. But last year it's 1.62. So it declined very fast for Thai. So this graph that I show you, Thailand will be the same in another 10 years. Fertility, if it keep on growing like this, right now it's 1.6. Within 7 years, if it start growing like this, it will be around 1.4 in another 15 years. So it will like Japan. I think Japan now is 1.3 or something. 1.3 or 1.27. I can check. So if the fertility is like Japan, the shape of the pyramid will, in the year 2050, I think it will be like this. In other words, the base of the pyramid will not wider, it will be narrower. Okay, so it will be like Italy. Italy is upside down. If we compare between countries, I think the highest fertility is maybe, I'm not quite sure. Anybody know the highest fertility in the Middle East? Okay, let's look at Malaysia. Okay, because Malaysia, they have a poor natalist policy. Now Malaysia is around 24 million, but they said they would like to have 1 million people. So they are we call this poor natalist policy. Myanmar. You see, Norway, Finland, Norway, Finland, I think Sweden. Fertility is allowed 2. There are no policy, but like in Norway or Denmark, they want their country to be homogeneous. Okay, they have their own children. They want 2 or 3 children because they want homogeneous. They don't want any like in the UK that a lot of workers migrate to UK, or in Germany in the past a lot of Turkish migrate. Okay. So you can see Norway no policy, but every household have 2 or 3 children. Myanmar no policy. Malaysia is a poor natalist. The pyramid also widened. Okay, so the population policy affect the demographic outcome. Okay. Thai 1.8. I look at this again. So when you compare between Norway, Malaysia, and Thailand, no policy now. No baby bonus policy, no tax deduction policy. So the fertility is naturally, so it's declined very fast. Malaysia, they have post-natalist policy. So with socio-economic policy process, social outcome is another thing, and demographic process, you have both, in Malaysia, more fertility. In Norway, the fertility is at replacement. Replacement is 2.05. Why 0.05? 0.05 is the proportion of the children die in the first year. Okay. You can see fertility rate in Thailand decline very fast. We start population policy in 1970 and declining. Any research, census, survey of population change, survey of fertility, any estimate, fertility decline, and we start to have a below replacement around 1990, started below replacement. But somebody now, they say that replacement is not 2.05. Replacement now should be 2.4. You know why it changed from 2.05 to 2.4? Fertility measured by number of children in each age group divided by women. Okay? So now it's 2.4 because a married couple, they should have more children for single women. Okay? So the more proportion single, the couple who marry should have more children, like a 2.4, in order to substitute the single women or men who didn't marry. Okay, I read in the book that your prime minister said that single female or single male is a parasite syndrome. I think he called single male or single female is a parasite syndrome because, and he said he created a lot of program, reduce tax for the married men and married women, and the single men and female said, why do you do this? He said, because why they have to take care of the kid for the future. You people have a lot of time to go drinking or to have a creation. Okay. So now TFR, total fertility replacement, is 2.4 for some society. Okay. Okay. I just mentioned that when I do a fertility projection, I forecast that in the year 2000, this is from census, is 1.82, and in the year 2025 is 1.7. The reason I put 1.7 is not just a number. I estimate backward, okay, and I use that coefficient to estimate forward, and I think that it will be 1.7. Okay, but last year we have a survey of population change. The fertility now is 1.6, 1.62. So I'm very worried. And now the National Economic and Social Development Board, Now they said we should do something about demographic dividend, but it's only one year left, 1 year more demographic dividend. But it doesn't mean that after the year 2009, no demographic dividend, but it starts to decline. The proportion of the people who are in the labor force now is 67%. It starts to decline, 66%, 65%. It's still very high proportion, but it starts to decline. Okay. Demographic transition in Thailand. In Thailand, change in population growth driven by changing fertility over the last 4 decades are expected with profound impact on population composition. The proportion of the population below 15 years of age is projected to decline from 24.6% in year 2000 to 17.95% in 2025. After the project peak in the proportion of the population labor force at 67% in the year 2009, the proportion will decline at least 62.05% in 2025. And now in the National Economic and Social Development Planning, they try to, they said they want the total fertility for Thailand to be at the replacement level. It's impossible. Now it's impossible because it's 1.6, they want to increase to 2.05. And you know, there are no research found that when fertility declines below replacement, there are no research found that any country can bring it back to replacement level. No, not any one country. Except I think in France, fertility decline and climbing up. In Singapore, declining and quite stable because they have a baby bonus, they have a love boat policy, something like this. It's quite stable. Okay, but not like this, declining and up. No, not any country. No country. After the projected peak in the proportion of the population in the labor force at 67.08%, the proportion is starting to decline. Okay. And this is a figure that now we talk about the consequence of the fertility. This is the nursing, the aging nursing care. The nursing care in Thailand take care very little people because Thai people, the aging people, 92% of the Thai aging stay with the family. And out of this 92%, 72% is the elderly stay with their son or their daughter. Okay. But this pattern will change. We can show you later on that the support by the family is starting to change to more public service. Okay. Again, the varying curve or the proportion of the population below 15 and between 15 to 59. The proportion curve of the aging population, 60 plus, is moving very fast in a search of a double increase from 20 to 20%. It is like a tsunami wave that carry a negative impact on the society. This study called the situation as the tsunami aging population phenomenon. This phenomenon is expected to bring negative impact on the Thai society in the near future. In other words, Thailand will have a chance to enjoy the optimum condition of the demographic dividend for no more than 2 years from now. Then after, Thailand will be in a transition to a demographic honors unless an appropriate policy intervention is adopted. Maybe we have a break now. So when the proportion, this one dependency ratio from 0.52 in 2000. In this area, this is the window of opportunity for the demographic dividend or the golden age. Because more labor, 67% in the labor, right? Less proportion is less than 40, but increasing proportion aging, but very high proportion in the labor force. But later on, you can see increasing over time, the dependency ratio increasing. So you can see that demographic dividend declining. Demographic dividend related to the dependency ratio. This is the life expectancy. Now, female 76.2, male 69. But life expectancy at age 60, in other words, if male live till age 60, they have 16.9 years old. Okay? Female 20 years old. We have life expectancy. E0 is life expectancy at birth, and E60 is life expectancy at age 60.
Can I translate? E0 っていうのはいわゆる平均寿命です。0歳児平均余命、残ってる命のことを平均寿命と言います。で、E60 っていうのは60歳児の平均余命。だからその前に死んじゃった人たちの分は引いて、だから60まで生きた人はまだ持ってきられるんですね。という考え方です。
So you can see that female live 6 years longer than male. But usually, in Thailand, male older than the husband older than wife 3 years. So the wife is a widow's 9 years. See, because they live longer 6 years, but they are older 3 years. So that's why when you look at the sex ratio for the marriage, sex ratio at age 60 around 0.8. In other words, more women than men, because men die younger. This related to the drinking and smoking.
Not working?
No, because they're working too much, no exercise, and they're drinking after work. Okay. Because physically it should be quite the same. Physically, but they, you see, they die 6 years earlier than female. Okay, now Asia pioneer in demographic dividend. In Asia, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore are the pioneers in obtaining a demographic dividend. And 1/3 of the economic growth in South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore during 1960, 1990 can be attributed to such a demographic shift with 2 children per woman and 2.7% increase in labor force growth per year. You can read this article in the David Bloom demographic dividend. In the handout, I also have a citation for David Bloom, the demographic dividend. He studied this, and also you can read more in Andrew Mason, Ron Lee, Ogawa on this demographic dividend and about the related between economic growth and the population change. Other Southeast Asia countries are now with an opportunity for demographic dividend. According to the Asian Development Bank (ADB), the demographic dividend in Southeast Asia is currently approximately 0.7% point of per capita annual income growth. The figure is expected to double in the year 2050. But this one has to adjust with the economic crisis. This one before the economic crisis. And Thailand, we have to not adjust only the economic crisis, but also the political hectic. 2 times. One, they closed the airport, and the second time last week. Fortunately, on ASEAN member country to experience a decline in TFR, you know the TFR, total fertility rate is number of children a couple have during the childbearing age. The childbearing age for the women is 15 to 49. We call it childbearing age. Up to 2025, the TFR will remain varying. 2045 to 2050, the United Medium top projection adjusts the TFR up on ASEAN member country to 1.85. This is quite difficult because now the average is allowed 1.6, 1.7, but the UN projection, you know, when declining to some extent, they said it's going up to around 1.8. They just think that the government policy will increase the fertility. Maybe we have to study in detail what happened in France, what happened in Norway, what happened in Finland, and lesson learned from that. Okay. Life expectancy as birth increased. This is in ASEAN. Increased range between 58.8 to 79.7. Despite improving the life expectancy in all countries of the region, Laos is 72.2, Cambodia 69.8, which continue to have lower life expectancy at birth when compared to other ASEAN members. On the same time, Singapore will continue to have the highest life expectancy, followed by Brunei and Malaysia. You see, the figure I just showed you, this one, life expectancy. Now, the demographer in Thailand now start to worry again that maybe the life expectancy may be lower than this because the age, the age is coming back. AIDS, AIDS is coming back. The HIV AIDS is coming back because now the teenager, because of the postmodern, now the time figure is starting to come in. So the life expectancy may be declining a little. Because life expectancy, you calculate by using the age-specific death rate for each age group. And you convert this to the probability of dying, and you convert this to the life expectancy. Okay? Demographic dividend in ASEAN, window opportunity. This one from Dr. Patcharawalai paper and John Skinner's. Scrutiny investigation on East Southeast Asian countries suggests a very pace of degree of economic benefits to be obtained, to be attained among them. The first window is Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, with the shortest remaining period of demographic dividend, no rather than 2015. And the second window is the Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar. And the third one is the Philippines, Cambodia, Laos. This depends on the faster decline in fertility. The faster decline fertility will benefit the first window. Okay. Singapore, Thai, Vietnam, very fertility decline very fast. Singapore very fast, Thai very fast. Vietnam starting to decline. Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, this is a Muslim country. And Myanmar, my guess, some also deal with the mortality pattern. When the country have very high infant mortality rate, demographers say that the insulin and replacement level will be increased. In other words, like I say in the first hour, when the couple their children die, so they have more children to replace the one who died. Okay. The third window is the Philippines, Cambodia, Laos, PDA. Philippines and Thai, we have one study. You can look in the book by UN. For Thailand, I'm the investigator, and also Dr. Patcharawalai. We compare Thailand and Philippines, Tunisia and Algeria, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. This is Thai and Philippines. We start to have population policy same time in 1970. When we start to have population policy, Philippines have 30,000 population more than Thailand. And the fertility started to decline quite the same time. But after Marcos, I think it's around 1980 or something, now the Catholic Church is coming to influence. Now fertility is starting to increase. Now Philippines, I think they have maybe around 9 million people more than Thai. Within 30 years, from 30,000 to 10,000. I think we can look at this this program is by Harry. I bought from he worked at the ISR. This is a program that if you want you can buy from they call it the demographic tool. And it's very good when you want to use to explain to the student, or you can use to explain for you. When I teach the business demography, people who work in the business, I explain that you have to use demographic data before you selling something. Okay, when I compare Philippines, and Thailand. Yes, we start population policy same. The figure is quite the same. See, in I think in 1980, the Marcos is out, and now the Catholic Church they said the family planning is against the religious. So now we deviate, the population needs deviate. See? So when you look at the population and development, the curve, demographic process, demographic outcome, economic process, economic outcome. This one you can see the relation between population change and economic and socioeconomic policy affect population. So it's a cycle. So it depends on which policy you deal with, the social policy, and which policy you deal with, the fertility policy. Okay. Vietnam, I mentioned to you that Vietnam is in the first window. You look at the green one, demographic dividend start and will decline in the year 2010. The green one. See? And the pink one, the pink is the 0 to 14 is starting to decline, and the aging is increasing. Okay. For Malaysia, I think the demographic dividend will decline maybe around 2020. But the aging, right now the aging is only around 7%. Indonesia, maybe the year 2020, proportion of the labor force is starting to decline. So prospect of demographic dividend capitalization, most Asian countries have stimulated their demand for quality human development. However, a big gap in human development within the ASEAN region in 1990 with the Human Development HDI, ranking from 0.186 in the case of Cambodia and 0.849 in the case of Singapore. So you can see the difference in human capital. Singapore almost 100% bachelor degree. Okay. When compared with other countries. Thailand, we use research money. The government spent 0.24 of the GDP. GDP is 8 million baht. 0.24 is allowed. We spend every year 18,000 baht. Singapore used 2% of the GDP. Their GDP is 5 times Thailand. So they use a lot of money using for research. Okay. Japan, I think 3.4% of the GDP. Your GDP is 10 times, maybe 12 times of the Thailand. So when you look at the outcome, because you use a lot of money for research, the outcome you have 200,000 patents in the year 2007. Thailand, we have 60 patents. You have 200,000. Scientific paper in the year 2007, scientific paper in the ISI paper. We have 1,000 paper in the ISI. You know ISI? When you publish your paper in the journal, that international standard with the impact factor, Thai have only 1,000. Japan, I think it's 40,000 in the ISI. Because you use 3% of your GDP, we use 0.24% of the GDP. You want to? I think I have this. If you give me some time, because I present this to. I'm the vice president of research affairs, so I show this figure to the university council that they said they want Chula to be a world-class university. I said it's very difficult to be a world-class university if the government spend very low amount of money. Thailand 0.24 of the GDP. Japan 3.2% of the GDP, and the GDP I think is 12 or 14 times. You have 7 R&D personnel per 1,000. We have 0.6, very low. Okay? And patent you have 100, not 200,000. You have 100,000. We have 60 patents. You have 60,000 scientific articles. We have 1,000. Korea 13,000. Singapore have only 4 million people. We have 64 million, but they have more paper than us. Okay, so when you invest less in human capital, the output is less. And another figure I show them that Thai people is like this. See, when you invest more money, you have very huge tacit knowledge. Thai very little explicit knowledge, not a tacit knowledge. Okay. This is not demographic dividend. Okay. So the HDI, despite additional improvement in HDI, Laos, PDA, the ASEAN member with the lowest HDI, Cambodia, Myanmar, right? Singapore 0.84, Thailand 0.68. Okay, prospect for demographic dividend capitalization, in particular, the education and training environment in a number of Asian countries has not met the demand. A large number of the working population, particularly in Southeast Asia, is unable to adapt themselves to meet the demand of a flexible labor market. Most of them lack of appropriate policy and support institutions to make their growing workforce productive enough to achieve sufficient growth before an increase in the old age dependency ratio. In other words, when I write a paper to the National Economic and Social Development Board, I said that Thailand demographic dividend is starting to decline. You have to improve productivity for the labor force. And in order to improve productivity, you have to improve the human capital. And in order to improve the human capital, not only education, but a very high skill and very high competency. Okay? You have to spend more on research. Okay? Rather than buying knowledge from outside, you have to create your own research. You have to create your own knowledge. Because if you buy knowledge, it's an explicit knowledge, it's not a tacit knowledge. You know the difference between explicit and tacit knowledge. Right? The explicit knowledge, when I give lecture, you know the explicit knowledge for me. When you read a book, the knowledge for the book is the explicit knowledge. Okay? But when you read the book and you go out or you are a scientist, you go to the lab and you do learning by doing research, you change from your explicit to tacit knowledge. Okay? When you, as a social science, we go to the field work, we interview people, we conduct a focus group, we change explicit to tacit knowledge. Okay? Most of them lack appropriate policy. Okay, so I try to convince the government that you have to invest more in research. You have to invest more in human capital. Moreover, the alternative strategy in labor migration have not been able to allow them to fully optimize or to maximize the demographic dividend. They are rather self-defeating. I said they're defeating because you didn't improve the human capital. You have more labor, but most of them are semi-skilled, not a skilled labor, not a technical, not a professional. Okay. A side effect of policy has been that migrant, the employer, and the national economies now have to face trap of insecure and unstable socioeconomic development. The problem turned itself into an increasing socioeconomic pressure on the society and can be expected to aggravate in a few decades to come when the demographic dividend in the region is facing away, turning instead into an honors. Okay. So now the ASEAN, a very high proportion in the labor force, but mostly are semi-skilled or unskilled. Okay. So even you have more labor income than consumption, but the saving also still very, very little. But if you have high proportion of the labor with a very high skill, very high labor income, you have more saving. Okay? In the 21st century, rapid aging will progressively become a global phenomenon in a globalized world. Realization of the potential of the elderly worker is a recent phenomenon to reduce societal and household dependency at old age while contributing to the improved well-being of the elderly. Nevertheless, employment and employability of the elderly remain a political debate in many societies. Okay, another thing that we are facing is that, like in Thailand, now they said the retirement age, they want to expand 60 to 65 years. Okay? But some people said, well, don't do that. Because if you expand 60 to 65 with the unskilled labor, it very less multiplier effect. So they are debating. Okay. Like in university, we have the government have a policy expand the retirement 60 to 65, but not every professor can be increase the retirement. If you want to increase your retirement age, you have to be full professor. But if you are associate professor, you have to show in the past 5 years whether you have a good record producing a paper. If you don't have a good record in producing a paper, they will not extend your retirement age. And every year, when they extend, you have to show the paper every year for the even you are professor, and they will hire you year by year. Okay, so they are debating on the employability of the elderly remain. Okay. The issue of dignity can be the case for those elderly with low educational level, poor health, and lack of technological skill to carry out jobs in a knowledge-based society. The problem may be worse if employer maintain ageism. Regarding the support of the elderly, the trends are in two directions. One direction is the decline traditional family support, like in China and Japan. The support ratio in China decreased from 13.8 in 1950 to 10% and 2.7 in the year 2000 and 2050. A decrease from 12.1 to 1.4 in the corresponding year in Japan. a policy push for ongoing intergeneration support for the elderly in addition to state-based support most Southeast Asian countries. Yet, during 2000 and 2050, the support ratio for the elderly is expected to decline from 15.3 to 4.2 in Malaysia and to 4.8 in Indonesia. Okay, this data, this by Paul Dividend. Support ratio is the person age 15 to 64 divided by person 65 and older. So it's declined very fast. Italy, you see, Italy in the year 1936, support ratio is 8.1. Right now it's around maybe 3.4, and 2050 it means that person who are working in the age 15 to 64, 1.4 people take care of one. Okay. For Japan, year 2000 is 4.0, 2050 is 1.4. For Thai, 2050 is 2.7. Okay. That's why I explain that people in this room, you have to save maybe 40 or 50% of your salary. Okay, this is the work. Female labor force. I showed this that we have M curve only 2 years, 1998 and 1999. They work and they out the job to take care of their children and go back. This is M curve, Professor Imiko Oshiai. And you see for the year 2000, no more. First we thought that the M curve for Thai will be steeper and steeper. In other words, they keep on have children, and when they have children, they out of work, take care of children. I think we will follow the Japanese curve, but only 2 years. The third year, no more. So it's very difficult. So when we interview, women don't want to have children because they said, why bother? Because they have to out their job and very difficult to find work and very difficult to find a child care in Bangkok. You see, we have, I studied first child care in the year 1991. In Bangkok, we have around 500 child care. And later on, it's declining very fast because the land price in Thai in Bangkok is very expensive. So they said, if they have a child care, or when they sell the land, they get more interest rate, more than doing child care business. And child care business is very touchy. You see, when their children fall out, their father, mother, grandfather, grandmother phone to that school and say, why? What happened? Why you take care? Why you don't take care good to our children? So they said, they just sell their land. And they said the interest rate from selling the land is higher than doing the child care business. And another thing is that at first marriage, at demographer we study at first marriage. At first marriage increased for women and also men. At first marriage increased. At first birth also increased. Usually at first birth means that usually 18 months when they marry, 18 months they have the first child. But right now maybe average around 3 to 4 years to have the first child. So when they start to have first child, women age around 31, and it's becoming infertility. If you go to Bangkok, they have a lot of clinic. They call it infertility clinic. You know what infertility clinic means? Okay.
子供が生まれない人にバレるようにする、そうそうそう、不妊治療のことです。
So you can see that infertility clinic in Bangkok increase a lot because of this phenomenon. Recommend strategy at individual country level policy environment. Reevaluation of the long-term fertility goal and policy is needed. An important tool is to rely on socio-cultural approach to investigate fertility and family formation behavior, linking the trend of age at first marriage and the age at first birth, both of which related to the M-curve pattern of female labor force participation. We try to use this model to explain the policy maker, but they always said it's a very long-term policy. They want to use their money to the policy that, people can see it within 6 months or 1 year, because the political situation in Thailand changed within 3 to 6 months. So they don't need long-term policy. This is a very long-term policy. M-curve and female labor force participation, because you have to deal with the private company. Because the private company, they always say that if it's a 1 year maternal leave, they say that their company is in trouble. But I always say that if you let women 1 year on leave, this is not a consumption. It's an investment for the human capital, for the people, for the nation. Okay, so you have to differentiate between consumption. Consumption will relate it to the public, to the social, to the to the public policy. This is not consumption. This is investment. Okay. Policy of risk management require both before and after the demographic dividend fading away, child care and healthy dignity old age population arrangement. Priority for country with relative poor human development, education, child care, health dignity, aging, and female labor force participation. Policy making also needs to take into account. You see, when last month, our college, our population study, we present about the study on the aging population by Professor Vipan to the Prime Minister visit. Actually, they're in the same classmate when they study in a compulsory school. So when we present this one, the government increased the monthly allowance for the aging from 300 baht to 600 baht. Not that much, but it's twice from 300 to 600. Priority for country with relative poor human development, education, child care, healthy dignity. We need a policy making also need to take into account human development and activity pattern of migration. And policy to support by other public, economic, and financial policies so as to encourage more productivity of our population and strengthening intergenerational solidarity to be exposed to adequate social protection of the elderly and low social developer for the formation of the social capital as a basis for sustained dignity at individual, family, and societal level. You see, as I told you that when we studied in the year, I think in 1995, we interview people age 50 and above, and for the people age 60 and above, when we ask who support you or who are you staying with, 92% stay with the family. And most of the elderly always say that, actually, I support my son and my daughter because when they graduate, the salary is very low. I still give them extra money. Okay, and why you doing this? And said because this is a supporting system in Thailand. The elderly support their kids, and when they are getting more aging, the kids will support them. Okay. Recommend for regional cooperation. The key strategy one is to enhancing productivity of the regional workforce via lifelong learning and training up for all, irrespective of age, both stock and supply, and to galvanize the semi-skilled labor force and bring them up to the value chain as regional human capital. Key strategy number 2 is to minimize such burden as a health problem and other costs before the future turn green. And the key strategy 3 is regional human resource pooling towards an extension, a demographic dividend for all countries in the region. This is something like the EU, the Western Europe is the aging population, and the Eastern Europe is the very high proportion in the labor force. When the Eastern and the Western, when the Western and Eastern mix together to be in EU, the pyramid becomes better. Right? Western is aging and the Eastern Europe is more proportion in the labor force. So when they mix together as an EU, is the EU population pyramid becoming more labor? Okay. So if the ASEAN 10 country population, you see, they have a meeting in Pattaya in order to do this kind of thing, but because of the political in Thailand, the meeting is did a success. Very, very poor opportunity. Okay. Point of concern. The following should be taken into account while initiating and formulating policy recommendation. The pace of fertility transition. This is how to, further expand the demographic dividend. The pace of fertility transition is how to extend the fertility level. You see, Thailand now is 1.6. How? If it keep on 1.6, it's still okay. But if it's declining to 1.3, this will create more proportion in the aging. So how to pace the fertility transition, the first one. The second one is the pace and the length of time when the demographic dividend is taking place. In other words, how to prolong the high proportion of the labor force, prolong timing, and also how to make use of this high proportion of the labor force, make them more skill and competency. Okay. The shorter A and B, the more concern to be given to enhancing the skill and competency of the workforce. Because they have to take care more of the dependency group at the time of an increasing proportion of aging. And D, an integrative approach towards child care and elderly care at the family, the government, and the community level. Any question? No question. Okay, this is just to show you Thailand aging society is very fast. This one, 2513, is 1970. This is after Buddhist, right? AD, after that, this is AD. If you want to change to BC, you minus 543. Okay, this one 2513 AD.
BE, Buddhist era.
BE. Okay, you minus. Okay.
この西暦に見える4桁の数字は仏暦ですので、543って言いましたをマイナスすれば、クリスチャン暦に直ります。時々タイの数字はこれですので気をつけてください。
Sorry, I don't have time to actually because it's a PDF file. Okay, this one is 0 to 4, the majority. The second one 25 to 29. This is father and mother, and this 50 to 54 is the grandfather, grandmother, and this is more than is 35 is the great grandfather, great grandmother. Okay, so in 1970, very high proportion 0 to 4. This one is 2010. You minus 543. 2010. The peak is at the group 25 to 29, father and mother. But if you add great grandfather and grandfather, this will be the majority. In the year 2050, great grandfather is the highest proportion. This is Thai. But if you have time, you can calculate this for Japan. Faster than this. Okay? So in this room, when you are becoming great grandfather, maybe only 1.3 labor take care of one elderly. Okay. My son is an architecture. He said this graph is very difficult to understand, so he helped me drawing this one. This is in 1970. This is 1970, and this is 2025. One child take care of father and mother, grandfather, 4 grandfather, grandmother, and 2 great grandfather. In the year 2050, reverse. Okay, aging society policy and research topic. There are many. Okay, this one is like I mentioned that the second dividend, the saving. Okay, you can. I think we have to think about second dividend. What kind of policy to use the saving money? Some for public policy, some for investment. Thai people may be in good shape because we can follow Japanese policy, but Japanese have 15 times higher GDP than Thai, so you can have more variety of policy than Thai. Healthcare, you can look at the all medicine, all Medicare on health and wellness topic, long-term care, housing mobility, end of life. In Chulalongkorn, the Faculty of Architecture, they went into the remote area, and they said you can use the bamboo wood to make a stick for the elderly, to make a chair for the elderly. In the remote country, usually Thai house is very high because of the funding. So the architecture said we have to build, change the elderly from the second floor to the first floor. Okay, and the restroom and the restroom, bigger restroom had to be small because when the elderly fall, you fall to the wall. But if the restroom is big, if you fall on the floor, okay. And usually the door is open like this in the restroom. With the elderly, you have to open like this. Because if the elderly fell in the restroom, you cannot open the restroom if it's like this. Okay? And you know why the restroom have to open like this? You know why? You have to open like this because if you don't open like this, suppose the water is leaking, the water will come out. But if you open like this, the floor in the restroom is lower than the outside. So you have to change, you have to open like this. But usually, but in Japan, even in the Saifu, Saikan is open like this, not open in. That's a good way. Because if you open like this, you cannot help the elderly when they fall down. Or you can change the door to like this. Okay? Money, social security reform, financial and solvency of social security, or social topic, pension, retirement saving, public assistance, Medicaid, supplement and security, or public assistance topic, loan, credit, debt, mortgage, all loan. Have to think about money also, and the life, family and leisure, grandparental lifestyle, work and retirement. We have to do a lot of research on this personal legal issue, technology, and also the consumer, the phone service, government legislation, and this kind of thing. That we have to think about the policy and research topic on this. This is the data show that in Thailand, double income no kid is increasing. This one I also presented last time with showing the professor Imiko. You can see that this one is the year. You have to minus 543. The yellow one is husband and wife. The pink one is husband and wife and a child. And the blue one is husband and wife, husband or wife and a child. Okay. So in the year 1999, husband and wife and a child is the highest. 5 years later, you see this one declining. But the double income notice is the blue one. Double income notice. Husband and wife increase. Husband and wife and kid declining. Okay. You can look at this data. And also single income notice is mean marriage is declining. Both male and female, they want to be, they don't want to marry. And the divorce rate is increased a lot from 3.7 to 4.49. That's why I said the TFR total, the replacement should be 2.4. In other words, the married couple, they should have more children substitute for the single male and female. Okay, and this one, just to show a specific fertility rate in the state of California, also the same thing. That the pattern change, you can see in 1970, the peak is at age 20 to 24, right? The year 2000, the peak is changed to 25 to 29. This one to show you also in Thailand also happened this way. The green one, you see the green one peak at age 20 to 24. This is whole nation, the whole kingdom. The purple one, is it purple? The purple one is rural area. Rural area is specific fertility rate peak at age 20 to 24. But in urban area, the orange color, it peak at 25 to 29. In other words, they marry older, right? And they have their children. And at first birth also increase. Okay, so this pattern is the same with the California. And when they more educated, the age at first marriage also increase all the time. And when you increase the age at first marriage and age at first birth, infertility is also increased. You know why infertility increase? Because infertility increase with age. Okay. This is the pattern. This is not in the handout. This is by Andrew Mason. No, in the handout. Right? No. Oh yes, in the handout. Okay. Old age relocation system. If a traditional society like a Thai, we are in this family transfer. Japan may be around this one between saving and public transfer. Okay. Capital-based transformation, you change from family transfer to saving or saving. If it's more industrialized country, it will be more public transfer. Okay. And a study by Andrew Mason looked like this. Thai. Now, Thailand is a mix of saving and family transfer in 1996. We studied in 1985. In 1985, Thai is allowed here. Now it's moved to here. It means that family more saving and also more family support. In the US, it's between this one, the saving and public transfer. And for Japan is here. Public transfer more than US. And Taiwan is mixed between this one and this one. If you read the book by Professor Imiko, the one that you transfer into Thai, it's about marriage. The marriage pattern. You can see that the marriage pattern for Korea is changing type, and also Thai also changing type. Like Korea, they change from 0.2% marry outside now around 20% marry outside. I think you can draw this triangle. Marry inside the nation, marry outside the nation. Like a Thai, in the northeast of Thailand, European country marry a lot of Thai women in the northeast. It's changing like in Professor Imiko paper, changing pattern of marriage for Korea and changing Japanese marriage also for Thai. But this one, at the location, you can see Thai, changing from 92% here, moving here. Taiwan mixed between family support and public support. Okay. So this is the figure show. This is like a second dividend with the saving from the labor income higher than the consumption. So it depends on the policy that you want people to still saving, or some will be public transfer. It depends. But usually, in economic terms, we don't want to say it's a welfare. We always think about consumption or investment. Okay. That's it. Any question? This is journal on auditorium.
There's a question. Has a question.
Yeah, let me ask a question. I'd like to know about the relationship between the triangle that one end and the first dividend or second dividend, and that is on page 3 or 2. And I'd like to know about the saving and public transfers of old age reallocation systems and expansion of old age transfer programs, or increase in capital economic growth in page 3, a second dividend. Yeah, I'd like to know about
Second dividend.
yes, second dividend.
Slide number 13.
Right, number 14.
Okay. The diagram.
On page 3, right?
Page 3, before the future page here.
Okay. Second dividend. What question?
Well, the term of saving or public transfers is of the old age relocation systems. You use two terms, saving and public transfers.
Okay, this one will be on the graph, the final graph. That one is actually from Andrew Mason, Longley, and Okawa here. They use this model.
And you explained two policies.
Two policies is on the
second dividend.
expand old age transfer program.
And
Old age transfer program, mostly public transfer.
are there correspondence? Sorry, correspondence.
Yeah. You see, this is the picture. This one is the theoretical picture. If you live in the Andrew Mason and Longley, they will begin with this one, and this says many nations, according to the study, I don't remember, maybe 20 to 25 nations, come up with this graph, old age relocation system. Some country, mostly in family transfer, like in Thailand. Okay? Some are between family transfer and public transfer, like in Taiwan. Japan mostly between public transfer and saving, so it's like this. And this is theoretical. And when they get the data, and the data is like this one. So they said Thailand is between family and saving, and Taiwan is allowed this, US allowed this, Japan allowed, Costa Rica is like this. Okay. So with this one, and they said second dividend come up, increase in demand for old age resources, and can be expansion of old age transfer program or increase in capital economic growth second dividend. In other words, with this figure, if you have a lot of saving, right? This saving, part of the saving can put into the public transfer, and part of the saving can be investment. Okay. If you use the saving more to this part. This part is like a public transfer. You spend less in investment. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So this graph is the situation that Japan more public transfer, U.S. Saving, and this one. So the saving, the U.S. maybe the OS people spend a lot in the stock market. That's why when the economic crisis, people are in trouble. Okay.
Yes.
Very, very good question. Thank you.
Can I add something? Actually, our presentation today is just an appetizer to bring you more to the future class, I mean next week and the following. Actually, Andrew Mason, when he talked about demographic deficit, the second one, he said this is something that is really going on now, that is what is now. But he said if we let this one, if we rely too much on the public transfer on this, like too much on this, they said that the economic growth will not be sustained in future times because the size of the people in the aging society will grow and grow and grow. So the idea, which remains to be to do further research, is that we should have some kind of a balanced approach between this one and another approach for like a community-based, institutional-based, so that the people themselves would feel that they become more strengthened in their capacity and also their own dignity, rather than to be just a person to be dependent on the nation or other people to provide them welfare. So he said if we depend too much on public transfer or welfare, that is not good for the future. And if we have come up with a new policy, an alternative policy, that people feel that they are become strengthened in their own capacity, the second dividend would be ongoing eternity. But that is only an idea, a theory that he and his colleague in Hawaii is launching this idea of second demographic dividend. We will discuss this more in future class.
Thank you. Any more questions? So you can see that we have a lot of work on the sociology. Yes.
Can I ask you a small question? Does the saving mean individual saving? I want to know more about this triangle. Does saving mean individual saving, saving one person made for himself, self?
Yeah, this one related to this figure. This one related to this one. He said that this is normally the big one is the labor income, and this is consumption. More saving, individual more saving, and individual saving can be simulated if the government have like in Thailand we have long-term saving. If you the long-term saving can be tax reduction 600,000 baht per year. If you save in the long-term saving, you have to save till you age 60. It's a tax examination 600,000. In the past 5 years, 200,000. Now it increased. So instead of you save in the normal bank, you save in this one. You cannot withdraw, but you can reduce your income annually 600,000 baht.
So do you think so social policy, public policy also have an effect
Yeah, so
on
the saving.
the amount of saving?
Yes.
So do you think Singaporean policy is effective? They do not allow transfers.
Transfer to
Well, okay. I think we do not have much time today, so I want to discuss this later.
Okay.
Hi, Asato-san.
Sorry to speak again. One question is relating to Ojie Sensei's question. The role of the government probably cannot be trustful in the future, as I understand. Probably the responsibility of the self and the responsibility of the family and the responsibility of the community will be bigger in the future. However, I would like to ask, talking about the responsibility of self, yes, I understand, but in case of Singapore, Provident Fund cannot sustain herself because the saving is not cannot reach the amount that he or he needs after retirement. This is one. And the second thing is that regarding family, when we talk about family, actually it's a role of women, more on women's shoulder. So what do you think about this? I mean, for example, the feminist movement in Thailand, what do they think about the woman's role in terms of the welfare after retirement? And that's my question. Thirdly, you were talking about, yes, human resource development will be very important to compensate for the population decrease. Yes, I understand. And in Japan, we are facing the same situation. And one thing is human resource development. The other thing is migrant worker. And the problem is if you import migrant worker from neighboring country, you mentioned that the human development index in those countries, neighboring countries, is quite low. So if you import foreign worker, it means that probably there will be a new hierarchy between the highly skilled Thai worker versus those unskilled labor. What kind of discussion do you have in the government for the future direction? Thank you.
I think I explained the last one first because you see the pyramid like this. Pyramid of worker is also like this one. You need low skill, semi skill, blue collar and collar. But you see, Thai, we changed the education system in the year 1999. The compulsory school increased from 6 years to 9 years. But a lot of factories, they still think that the pyramid of industry is the same. Okay, they still want to high, low skill. But we economic, we said, you increase the compulsory school from 6 years to 9 years. So this pyramid, the lower labor force, this pyramid is unskilled. You have to change this pyramid to this. The lower part should be semi-skilled, but they don't want to change, so they hire the illegal migrant. Okay, so I said, you increase the education level, but you still want to hire low skill. So the student who gain 9 years, they are underemployed. If they want to work, they have to be underemployed. Okay. So this depends on the policy of the government. But the government says the increase in the level of education is Ministry of Education. But the labor force, the industry, is Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Industry. They still want the factory to keep on running. So they create 2 million low skill labor. So this one you have to compensate between one policy and another policy. Okay. Now they are in trouble because according to the labor force survey, students who have a 12-year education, underemployment 47%. Underemployment is mean that they have 12-year education level, but they work at the factory with the primary school. Or some have to work less than 35 hours. Okay. So when you increase your human capital, you have to change this pattern of pyramid of labor also. Okay, it's the side of aging. The second one, you talk about the saving, and you see this one, the surplus of saving. Individuals have to save for themselves. Also, the government have to stimulate this kind of saving by introducing tax examination or anything. And also, the government have to use this as an endowment. They cannot use this endowment for the investment. If they want to invest, they have to borrow only the interest rates of this endowment. They cannot use the whole amount of this endowment, but because this is endowment. And it's very difficult to forecast because this endowment, like in Singapore, they think that this endowment is enough for the worker when they're getting old. But there's a scenario think that life expectancy can be at 75 years. But now it's 85. So they live longer. And when you live longer, the institutional hospital cannot support. Okay? So the money that you plan is not enough because the scenario is 75, life expectancy is 75, but now it's 85. And this group of people, we call it older old. We have older people, right? We have older old people. It's more than 75 is oldest old. So it's difficult because live longer and spend more money, use more money. The third question. You have 3 questions, but I have okay.
Probably we have to close. Thank you very much, Professor Kua. We want to continue our discussion, but time is over. So we can continue our discussions next week with Professor Patcharawalai. So thank you very much, Professor Kua. では、こういう調子で来週もお願いします。ついでに説明しちゃうと、シンガポールは強制貯蓄制度なんですよ。今その話をしてたんです。個人間での再分配がなくて強制貯蓄なんです、年金の代わりに。それでシンガポールの例が今出てました。